It is 6:05, and I call this meeting to order. Let the record reflect that we have a full quorum today. We have Mr. Patrick Kennedy, Mr. Andrew Gonzalez, Dr. Richard Rivera, Mr. Erasmo Lopez, and Coach Cuellar, and myself, Mr. Nieto. Item number 3, opening prayer. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, our invocation will be delivered this evening by Mr. Elias Trevino, our Weslaco ISD bilingual and ESL director. Mr. Trevino, welcome.
Would you be so kind to bow your heads? Let's pray. Father, we thank you, Lord God, for allowing us to be here today. We thank you for your presence in this place. It's not that we are good, it is that you are faithful to your word, that where there are 2 or 3 gathered in your name, you are there. Father, we ask you to continue to give us wisdom and understanding, that all decisions, everything that is decided upon today, Lord, may bring you glory and honor. As your word tells us, that everything that we do in word or action, it should be done unto you. Father, I ask you to bless our superintendent, continue to give her wisdom, our board members, bless them beyond measure for the time that they give, expecting nothing in return. I thank you, Lord, that they continue to give even in times of difficulty. I ask you right now, Lord, continue to ask you for our trustee, Andrew Gonzalez, and his family, that you continue to deposit peace in their hearts. Father, we ask you also for all of our students and staff during these summer days, that your hand of protection may be upon them, that just as they left for the summertime, that they will return, Lord, without any issues. Lord, we're going to be careful to give you all the glory and the honor. In Jesus' name we ask all things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Elias.
Pledge of Allegiance, the Texas Pledge. Dr. Canales.
And Board of Trustees, Mr. Oscar Riojas, our athletic director, will deliver the pledge with us this evening.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
Under Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Rojas. Coach Rojas. Item number 6, public comments. We don't have any tonight. Item number 7, superintendent's report. Dr. Canales, first one is student enrollment.
We do have award.
Oh, awards. My fault. We do have awards. Let's go back to awards. I already had checked it out. Awards and recognitions. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, we're very honored to recognize some talented musicians from Weslaco High School. We're very, very proud of our fine arts program. Mr. Robledo will be introducing our students and our directors.
All right. Well, how about a big hand as these talented musicians and choir members enter the room? All right. So tonight we would like to congratulate these talented musicians and singers we have in our school district. Our band students won silver and gold medals in the 2019 UIL Texas State Solo and Ensemble Contest. We would like to start off from Weslaco High School Band, silver solo medalist. And we have, and as I say your name, if you can step forward, please, so you can be recognized, Justin Garcia. We also have Diego Martinez. In string, we have a silver soloist medalist, Fernando Perez. Chorale silver solo medalist, Reina Johnson. Gold solo medalist, we have Jarek Garcia. Also, gold solo medalist, Roman Valenciano. Also, gold solo medalist, Ricardo Ibarra. Trombone quartet gold medalist, we have Jarek Garcia. Efrain Garcia. And Justin Garcia. The three Gs. String quartet gold medalist, we have Marlene Guzman. We also have Fernando Perez. We also have Jacob Leal. And we also have Beyonce Gomez. We would also like to congratulate our director, Mr. Rodrigo Leal. Here, Mr. Leal. And also Assistant Ernesto Ortiz. Arturo Hinojosa. And Fine Arts Coordinator, Ron Bissett. If the parents are here of these fine students, can they please stand and be recognized? Parents. Congratulations, students, and fine job.
Congratulations, we're very proud of y'all, very proud of y'all.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations.
All right, item number 6, public comments. No public comments tonight. Item number 7, Superintendent's report. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, we have several areas to report today, and we have some just fresh off the press with STAR reports coming in today as well. So beginning with student enrollment, as you can see, we do have an enrollment deficit of 57 when you compare 35 weeks from 2017-2018 to 2018-2019. When it comes to membership, it's a negative 172. That is the difference between the 2 years at the 35th week. That breaks down on slide 2. That's a breakdown for campus by campus levels. Elementary, I'm going to focus on membership, a difference of 123. Middle school's up 35, high school's down 87, and the Elf Academy up 22. That equals the 172. For ADA, we're finishing the year strong. Last year, we were at 95.86. This year, we're at 97.28. That does include, with all the efforts from the campuses and the SASE program, the Student Attendance Success Initiative, that you approved that back in the fall semester, where we could bring in students and work that were absent. So that's a strong performance, a 97.28% for the year. When it comes to ADA comparison, we're short 85 in ADA, so that's approximately $638,000. And that concludes the enrollment in ADA. The next, if you have any questions?
Questions? Dr. Rivera,
No.
you okay?
Okay.
Okay, the next report, I'm going to ask our 2 assistant superintendents of leadership and education, Mr. Aguilar and Mrs. Peterson, to present on this.
Thank you, Dr. Canales.
The data is very preliminary. We just got it in today. It hasn't been cleaned for accountability subsets, but we're going to share what we have to date, okay?
Good evening, Mr. Nieto, members of the board. We do have, as Dr. Canales mentions, we do have some preliminary results that did come in today. We did receive them this morning, and they are raw data. The principals are updating as the day progressed today, so we will provide those updates as soon as we complete all the rough data, we get it cleaned up. What you have before you, we're going to go ahead and present. We have 3rd through 8th, and we're going to present some EOC data. If you're looking at 3rd grade, we're not going to go into full detail for every campus. Please stop us if you have any questions, but we'll be providing full detailed reports in August once we have everything concrete. If we're looking at all our campuses, as you know, Roosevelt, we didn't have any students testing there this year. But looking at the green, that's all growth. So when we're looking at the accountability, we want to look at growth being the key word. when we're looking from year to year. So we're looking at that growth from approaches meets to masters. And again, if you look at the approaches, that's where we compare the data that we have right now with the region. So if you're looking in Weslaco ISD for third grade, starting off with the reading, you're looking at 82% and the region at 78. So if you want to kind of follow along with that, we have a growth there. You look at the next slide, we're jumping into math. You see the green, again, we're looking at growth as we're coming along with our campuses. You see on the bottom, Weslaco ISD compared to region. On some, you see where the region also stayed the same, or they decreased, or where we increased, or we stayed the same. So the green is a growth. The yellow indicates that it stayed the same. So we jump into the next slide, fourth grade reading. You see the same thing there. The slides in the bottom, Weslaco ISD, Region 1 data. You see some of that growth, and again, the green indicates growth. Looking at the next slide, you have fourth grade math. Same thing, we're looking at the growth from approaches, meets, and masters. You look at Weslaco ISD under the approaches, and you look at the region. You see the comparison in the data. If we're looking at writing, this is one that I do want to point out. This one was one that we had a 16-point growth from last year. So now we're mirroring the region at 73. So that one was a significant increase for us. Same thing in the meets and the masters. If we're looking at our fifth grade reading, right there you see the green, you see the yellow, you see Weslaco ISD, we're still above the region. If we're looking at that, same thing for math. You're looking at fifth grade math with the green at 95%. Region, we're still above the region. As you see that, science, same thing. You're looking at the yellow and the green. You see the growth at Weslaco ISD compared to the region. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Ms. Peterson.
So in sixth grade reading, the region had a 2-point drop, and Weslaco ISD had a 1-point drop in this. We had growth just at one campus. In sixth grade math, we had a lot of growth across the performance levels. We're still running behind the region, but we did gain a little bit there. In seventh grade reading, we had some gains. We're still running slightly behind the region in seventh grade reading. Seventh grade math, we had gains in many areas. The region had a bigger gain than we did, so we dropped 2 points below the region. In writing, we had some gains, but we slipped behind the region by 2 points in writing. Eighth grade reading, both the region and the district dropped 1, so we stayed slightly behind the region. In eighth grade math, we had good gains across the board in all of the performance levels and stayed ahead of the region this time by 4 points.
Is your eighth grade reading the first or second administration?
Second administration, sir. In eighth grade science, we had gains and stayed ahead of the region. We do score ahead of the region in eighth grade science. In eighth grade social studies, we stayed the same, and so did the region. We're 1 point ahead there. In Algebra 1, we had a couple of drops at 2 campuses. We can attribute those to some issues with, one, we had a teacher unexpectedly leave the job at the Caterly College High School. We tried to compensate for that, but we know that that impacted student scores. And at Weslaco East, we had a teacher on extended leave for Algebra 1. And again, tried very hard to compensate for that, but we know that that impacted the scores in those areas. So we're a little bit farther behind the region, but we'll be making that up next year. The middle schools did outstanding on Algebra 1.
Yeah.
In biology, we are ahead of the region by 1 point. We stayed ahead and had gains across the board. In U.S. history, we run slightly behind the region. We did have some gains in the approaches and a few at the meets. We were probably most excited about this slide in the English 2. We've been struggling in these 2 areas and had some significant curriculum writing last summer, and a lot of hard work by teachers, campus staff, and Dr. Lopez with close monitoring. We saw some good increases at the high school level finally in English 1. And then you can see we had outstanding scores at the middle schools. Those are our advanced students taking English 1 there. They had good gains at meets and masters, and we are, for the first time in a very long time, even with the region on approaches. And the same with English 2. Good gains, solid gains. Again, curriculum writing was done last summer. So a lot of hard work by our teachers, close monitoring by campus staff and Dr. Lopez. And for the first time in a long time, we're even with Region 1 in English 2 performance. So we are pleased with those levels. We're doing a lot of curriculum writing this summer across grade levels in reading language arts. We have a new textbook adoption that's going to be in place, and we also have new TEKS. So there are a lot of changes coming for English language arts, and both Mrs. Chamberlain and Dr. Lopez and campus staff are working very hard to make sure our teachers are ready for those changes. And that is our report on that topic. Again, preliminary scores.
How
Dr.
many,
Rivera?
how many seniors did not graduate due to not passing?
I do
These-
not know, Dr. Rivera, I'll have to let you know. I know 3 from South Palm Gardens. I don't know the big high school, so I'll check on that.
Both high schools?
I'll have to check both high schools, 3 from South Palms.
And we can put that in this week's.
I will.
Well, the principals are here. Maybe they'll know. Are the
Principals, do you
here?
know how many did not graduate? No, okay. At Kate Early College High School, 0. They all graduated.
But shouldn't we know how many didn't graduate? We had graduation last week, 2 weeks ago. Well, put it on the update.
Any comments? Coach Cuellar, any comments on the scores? Mr. Lopez?
No, they look good.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez?
Continue the hard work, principals. Y'all are doing a great job. Again, just moving forward, you know, I know our strategists are doing a lot, and so continue the good work.
Dr. Jaime?
No, great job, great job. Now, I know you said, Dr. Canales, these are preliminary numbers. Do we usually, once they're cleaned up, do these numbers change much? They usually go up?
They do a little bit by about 1%. We have to remove the students who are in the accountability subset because they weren't here by the PEEM snapshot date. So it could go. Our principals work today on cleaning up based upon their reports. And of course, the final one is when the state says this is now official.
Gotcha.
So I think on the board update this Friday, we were going to give you the clean data, but it's been cleaned by us, not the state.
The state.
On average, you look maybe a point or two, up or down. Typically, we tend to see it go up, a point or two, so we do see those increases.
Great job, good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy?
I think overall the scores are well, but I look forward to working with the staff to see what we can do to improve the English scores.
A couple of things, especially on the meets and the masters. There was quite a number of students that went up, and that's an area that, most of the time I focus on the masters and meets, and of course our approaches too, but more accountability now deals more with more students being at the master's level, more students being in the meets, and you saw that with all the green. Also, the other one was, of course, the English. We need to improve on that. But elementary did very well overall. I think still the writing and the reading is an area to improve on, and that will come with time.
Yes,
But great job in the scores for right now.
Thanks for compiling this information so quickly today.
Yes.
What's that?
Yes.
Rick Flores.
And I like all this green. That shows growth from last year. Good job to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I do want to recognize our CNI and all our principals, everyone working very hard. This is a total collaborative effort, and they work extremely hard. So, thank you for your support, board,
And
in ensuring that our students get what they need.
And again, the last 3 years, our scores have improved every year. Distinctions will be coming up in the next.
In August.
So I'm assuming that also will have an increase from the 57 that we had last year? Or how much was it last year? Somewhere around there.
It was 51.
51, okay. So it's got to be 57 or higher. So, no, but good job, central office administration and principals. Dr. Canales, good job.
Thank you.
Great job, team. The next part of report is the long-range facility planning process. We embarked on this, it just seems like a few weeks ago, and have done a lot of things with it. We do have Mr. Colinas here to present the long-range facility planning process, and Mr. Oscar Riojas. We have had some preliminary meetings. We've had, and I'll talk about the preliminary ones. We had one with the district staff to talk about the process. We had one with our Board of Trustees. And we've had a big one last week with over 60, was it 60 people? To talk about some of the work. So
Thank
this
you,
is
Dr.
just the
Canales.
first phase, the first couple of phases of many in the process of moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Canales, Mr. Nieto, members of the board. We have Mr. Brian Godinez and Mr. Robert Sands here with us tonight. We've been through several of the preliminary workshops already. They've been really, really good, very successful workshops. We've established the vision and the guiding principles, so that they've been really good. And so Mr. Godinez is going to provide us with a quick update, pictures, a little bit of what we covered in those sessions. So, Mr. Brian?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Brian Godinez with ER Architects. I'm a principal there. Thank you, Dr. Canales and board members. Do I just click here?
Yes.
We're 30% into the project as of today. We have, as you reviewed before, in our process, we have 6 core elements that are involved, from vision, community input, a discovery, which we're doing a lot of the assessments right now through the discovery phase. Ultimately, we'll have a plan to develop and then refine. You all will be a part of that refinement process. And hopefully sometime in October, we'll be delivering the long-term facilities plan. As we have mentioned before, there's 2 core efforts going on. One is on the facility side from assessment and planning, and the other is on the educational side in terms of establishing educational goals and specifications. The 2 will merge together when we ultimately deliver the plan. Our community engagement process is what we're most impressive with, and specifically what occurred over the last couple of weeks in terms of the process with teachers, students, parents, community members, and district administrators. They'll be involved throughout the entire process as we move along. Currently, as I said earlier, we're in vision. We're seeking and providing a lot of community input and discovering what the facilities and the condition of the facilities are. Let's talk about the facilities assessment phase, what we're doing right now. We had a kickoff meeting with the administration to review the planning processes and establish the objectives of the plan a couple of months ago. We've requested lots of documentation and data. We have got most of it. I'd say, thanks to Coach Rios and his team, we're probably at about the 97% in terms of all the information that we've been seeking. Robert Sands, who's sitting behind me, who has been leading this effort, has been meeting with all the principals. The principals have been engaged in the assessment, walking through the buildings. We actually asked them to submit a customized questionnaire to seek their input on their buildings and campuses, and we've received all 21 from the principals. Our architects, engineers, and specialized consultants are going to walk every facility in the entire district, education, non-educational facilities, and we're going to look at systems, code issues, ADA, life cycles, TEA compliance, utilization capacity verification, programming issues, and educational adequacy. That is our objective. As of right now, we've walked 13 of the 32 sites that were listed in our agreement. These are the schools that we have completed from an assessment standpoint that are in front of you. I'll just pause for just a quick sec on elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and special facilities, and those that are non-educational. That's what we've done so far. Our team will be finished assessing these facilities at the end of June. Now, on the educational planning side, we are in the middle of vision and discovery. As I've mentioned before to some of you, educational specifications is really the foundation for our going forward with regards to our facilities. And it's a written means of communications between educators and the design professionals as they move forward in the development of either new or renovated or additional educational facilities. The educators describe the educational program, we identify the factors which affect learning and teaching, and then we establish a database for going forward with facilities. And this allows also for the assessment of existing buildings against the desired goals of the community as it relates, and the district as it relates to educational planning and vision. We currently have online a community questionnaire. We have been engaged the community to fill out the questionnaire to get their perspective on educational needs, program needs, facility needs, and any other items. We have over 200 already filled out. We're going to continue to keep that survey out there for as long as we can to see how much of the community will be involved in inputting. Now, we have several meetings that are planned throughout this process.
Mr.
We've already
Godinez,
kicked off.
excuse me.
Yes, sir.
On the survey,
Yes, sir.
is it on our website?
Yes, sir.
I believe also it was on Twitter and one more, I believe. But I think I saw it on Facebook, yes, but in Twitter, I believe it was also on there.
Dr. Canales, how are we letting the parents know about the survey?
A couple of ways. We send out using our, what's our system called? School messenger system to all the parents that we had contacts with. At the meetings, when we met with 60 people, we asked them to tweet and let everybody know. I talked to even the students that were part of that committee to let everybody know. We have it on, we call it tweeting, right? We're on Twitter,
Social media.
on Facebook, and
Hey,
it's
Wes.
on the website, front and center. I checked it this morning. And just trying and asking everybody that we come into contact with, share this with everybody that you know, so that we can get as much feedback as possible.
It's also under the parent section.
On the parent involvement section as well.
It's on there as well.
Can you just continue to send reminders? And I'm hoping that it grows from the 200. I know it will, but.
We do too. We're
you know,
still
without-
early, Mr. Gonzalez.
Without the involvement of the community, you know, kind of where it ends up in at the end of the day.
Good point.
And so.
We just sent another reminder, was it last night? That was just last night I was reading it. Uh-huh.
Right.
So
So
we'll
again, I
send.
think just a constant push of just, hey, this is where it's at.
Yes,
you
sir.
know.
Good point.
Good point. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Soon you'll be seeing the results of the survey, and it'll be really interesting to see what parents are saying. We have several meetings that we're planning. We've already had the visioning session and the community workshop, which I'll go over with you in just a minute. And we have our second community workshop planned for July 30th. And then throughout the process, we'll have departmental meetings, steering committee meetings, and board meetings. And there's a lot of one-on-ones that we're doing, specifically with the parents, the custodial group, and other departments as we go through the facilities and we go through our educational planning. Let's talk about the visioning session that we did a couple of weeks ago with board members and administrators. That was done principally to adopt a draft of guiding principles. And guiding principles reflect the vision, mission, and core values of the district, and they also move us towards a common goal, a common direction for the district as it relates to education. It's the foundation that all activities will be measured throughout the process, with priority emphasis on environments that support instruction and facility construction later as it supports the vision and district's goals. Ultimately, the direction is that we have parity and consistency across the districts with all the facilities, whether we're renovating, adding on, or building new. That's what the guiding principles do. Now, at the visioning session, working with you all and the administrators, which we then took to the community, these were the 6, and these are still in draft form, but these were the 6 that we came up with from the meeting. Students will be lifelong learners. Future success depends on change. Student-centered learning is at the heart of each of the students. Grit and perseverance are hallmark characteristics of students. Facilities support every student's success throughout the district, and safe learning environment promotes achievement specifically with students. Those were the 6 anchors that we'll be building from as we go through the master planning process. And by the way, you all did an outstanding job at that meeting in terms of its development. Last week on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had an all-day workshop and then half a day on Wednesday with almost 65 individuals representing the community. We took those guiding principles and other elements of you all's work on the 30th, and we spent a lot of time working on skills and behaviors. We were discussing with them to establish and vote on top skills and behaviors that we see students and staff would have in new environments in the district. And then currently under the facilities that the district has, what learning environments help support those desired behaviors and which ones hinder them. We got a lot of input from there, and obviously you see the coach here having a good time during the process. We also went into the future, and Irene Nagaglione, our educational planning consultant who's on our team, who's renowned as one of the best in the United States in educational planning, got the participants engaged in a great conversation about what the future might look like in terms of learning environments. And she brought 3D model elements for the teams to sit down. We had 12 teams and create learning environments. And what could they look like? What could classrooms of the future look like if they had these behaviors and these skill sets in place? And she asked them to spend some time doing that. We spent a good 30 to 45 minutes on the building and had a lot of fun doing that. And then from that, we developed a long list of design attributes, things like color and safety and natural lighting, elements that would be part of future learning environments and what that does to education and what that does to student achievement. These are some of the things that they did, some of the classrooms that they created, progressive contemporary classrooms and elevating classrooms. And from all the different images, I don't do it justice showing you pictures because it's much better when they were representing each of those and explaining what those elements were in terms of seating, in terms of group learning, single learning, group learning environments, avant-garde, social dome, freedom classroom. They all had some very great perspectives as they were putting these different classrooms and environments together. And personally, as I was observing through this, I want to tell you it was amazing that these individuals, when they walked in, they didn't really, or were not really fully engaged in what these learning environments of the future might look like. Irene did a great job working with everyone in terms of showing them what a transformed district could look like with learning environments that create these skills and behaviors that we want from our students and the teachers engaged in those. And who they were at the end were completely different individuals. It was real exciting to watch that transformation of these individuals as they went through that. I thought it was a great exercise, and they were fully engaged from the very beginning to the very end. And I acknowledge you, Dr. Canales, and your staff for having them involved, from students to teachers to principals and every other person from walks of life throughout the community engaged in that kind of conversation. It's extremely enlightening. Any questions?
First of all, I want to thank you because there was a lot of involvement from different stakeholders, including students and teachers and parents. But Irene did a very good job. I was at one of the presentations, and she's very knowledgeable. And I think going forward, we have to look at the future. And a lot of times our students will learn more by hands-on activities than your old tradition of paperwork or desk, straight desk. You have to change, and I think this is a vision that Dr. Canales has, and hopefully the rest of the board members have, to move forward. So kudos to Irene and the rest of the staff.
Thank you.
Dr. Rivera?
I was not here, but what is the purpose of this study? What's going to be the final product? What are you looking at?
What we hope to accomplish is a long-term vision for the district where facilities and education are working together, and that as facilities are designed and constructed, that they link directly to the pedagogy curriculum of each of the different schools.
But are you going to identify the needs?
Yes, we are. Yes, there's actually going to be a workbook that'll be created that'll be phased out over the course of 10 years in terms of being able to address these needs.
How are we paying for the ultimate price?
That'll be up to the school district to determine how they'll be paid. They'll be anywhere
You've done
from
30% so far?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any figures?
No, sir,
on
we don't have cost
facilities?
estimates yet.
You
We're
don't
not
have any
anywhere
cost
near that
estimates?
yet. But some of these changes could be just as simple as a simple remodel of paint and color, all the way to a new facility, a new high school, or a new elementary school. It's a broad range.
So when you finish your report,
Yes, sir.
you're going to give us an idea of what the cost is
Yes,
going to
sir.
be on your study?
Future costs, not just
No, no,
today's,
no,
not
I
with
under- I
today's
under- I
market
understand.
conditions, but planning for the future.
Planning for the future.
Yes, sir.
And right now, you don't know.
No, sir. I mean, we have an idea of what a square footage cost might be for a high school or a middle school, but without it being linked to the curriculum and the educational vision and planning of the school district,
Andres, is there
we
a
don't know yet.
plan for this study with monies? Andres, is there a plan? Once you tell us that you're going to need $100 million, is there a plan?
Well, part of the money we have is fund balance, and the future of bonds.
This is
For
big
the big
league.
amount will be bonds, sir.
This is big league studies.
Yes, that's all.
It's not little league. We're
Right.
talking about big monies.
That is, we're trying to get the community involvement to hopefully support a bond. If
Okay, so that's the
IFA
purpose.
money is available in the
Okay, I
future.
wanted you to say it. So the purpose is eventually a bond election.
Or a series of bond elections, Mr. Rivera.
Okay.
Comments, Mr. Lopez?
Brian?
Yes, sir.
Is there more workshops or meetings?
Yes,
planned
sir.
To involve the community?
Yes, we have another one scheduled for the end of July, and then we'll take each of, including the board, administration, and the community through a series of meetings as we continue to keep evolving the plan. So yes, there'll be a lot of involvement, plus every phase of the work that we do, I'm hoping that the district will make it available for the entire community to see.
I think this is very important, that our facilities, and Dr. Rivera, when he was here, I mean, he always was claiming that we are second to none. You know, a lot of time has passed since he was here, and our facilities have, I don't think we've stayed up the way we should have, be it, and I know it's because of the monies that the state has been passing out, has been cut and cut and cut again. You know, I just had a thought over this weekend about our facilities and about our whole education system that we have here in Weslaco ISD. And knowing that we have charter schools in the area, then they come, and then they go. And when they go, they don't take the kids with them. So I know that this district has to be prepared at all times if something drastic happens to one of those schools, to be able to absorb those children, to be able to take care of them. And I feel that with the scores that Dr. Canales and staff and our principals and our teachers are generating forward for our public and for our students here, we should be gaining students. We should be gaining students. Andres, I remember in the past you used to say, hey, well, we're 250 over our estimated ADA, so we have extra money coming. Here, we just heard you say that we're under, I believe it was 68, Dr. Canales? Or
85.
$600,000 that we're gonna have to send back. And that was a conservative estimate of our ADA. So I feel that we need to maintain, we need to keep on growing, we need to have pride in our buildings, we need to have pride in everything we do here in Weslaco, and I think we do, and our scores are showing that we're moving in the right direction. And we just need to let the public know. And Brian, that's where you come in and bring the public together. And that way we can showcase our district and where we're headed and what we're going to do and keep Weslaco second to none, like Dr. Rivera has always told us, So I thank you and it's good.
When do you finish the report? When are we going to know?
October.
October.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I do want to make one comment. We've assessed 13 buildings so far, and I want to just throw a shout out to the condition of many of those buildings. They're very good shape, and that's a compliment to the maintenance and to the custodians of this district. There's a couple that we've seen so far that most likely need to be replaced, but the majority of them are in very, very good shape. We've been quite impressed.
Good.
I will tell you that.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Coach Cuellar, any comments?
I just like the direction we're going in, and more important than anything is the transparency that's very evident. And I think it's going to be important in the vision that we're looking for the next 10 years.
Yes, sir.
On my left, Mr. Gonzalez.
Doc, my advice is, you have those coffee conversations at each of the schools that you go and visit, and I know some of us get to go, and when you first started it, they were unaware of a lot of issues that we were going through, and the bond failed and all of those things, and again, goes to my question to you, Brian, how are we going to get the information out? Because that is key, and going on the transparency, as Coach Cuellar said, the community needs to know everything that we're doing. Because those little kids are coming up, mine are coming up. Mine will be here for the next 20 years, I think. So we need to have a vision, and this is the start of it, and kudos to the maintenance department that do such an excellent job. So I would just say, make sure our message gets out. Your message gets out to our community that, hey, come, ask all the questions you want to ask, see. And that would be my advice.
Mr. Gonzalez, from our experience, we've noticed that those school districts that succeed, specifically if you go in the direction of bond elections, those that succeed are the ones that start from the bottom up. And this process, what you're doing, is definitely starting from the bottom up.
Dr. Jaime?
And I was here for that first workshop, and I was very impressed with the approach. I like the fact that we're, making sure that we're keeping the students in mind and making sure that it's not just about facilities, it's how we can make everything work together with the academic side of it. And I'm glad we're doing this, and I look forward to the process and the end process here to see how everything turns out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes,
Kennedy?
No comments. I'm okay.
Oh, you okay. So a lot of positive comments coming from all the board members, and we'll move forward. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome, sir.
One thing I would like to add, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
And Dr. Canales, is that Carlos Robledo is here, and I don't know if we've made any small videos or blurbs that we can play over and over
on KUS, and now there's Facebook and all the other media sources that we can start pushing out. And he's shaking his head, so I guess it's already
The
happening.
cameras were in the house.
Okay, great, because we need to show this information and really highlight it so that we can get this district just better and stronger.
We're
Thank
here to
you.
help. You just let us know what we can do to help do that.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they just get maintenance, our department, to go out there and do what they can on these repairs, and not let's wait until the very end. Let's work on them constantly.
Yes, so Joe in America working on that.
Yes, if I may comment, one of the things that we've been working on very closely this year, and I think Dr. Rivera's right and the rest of you are right, this is big league stuff. But the direction that we're taking with our maintenance department is working very, very closely with our administration and really going out there and seeing what are the needs in our campus and working with them and trying to get those things done ASAP. And that's something that we're working on very closely and we're wanting to maintain. This summer, we have an ongoing list of projects that are very important, but they're needed. And thank you to Andres and the rest of Dr. Canales and the rest of you for being able to have the funding available. We're able to address them. And I think we're making progress in that direction. And I think our principals are happy with
Let's try to
with our
fix what's broken
department.
as much as we can.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
I don't know if
you.
you mentioned the time.
I don't think so, right? No. Let the record reflect that Dr. Jaime came in at 6:20.
Our next, we have two more quick updates. Our next update is the insurance update.
Insurance.
Mr. De La Rosa?
Good evening, Dr. Canales, Mr. President, members of the board. This is the standard insurance slide that presented every month. I'm going to go ahead and approximate the numbers again, and this data is current as of May 31st, 2019. In medical claims, last year we paid approximately $7.5 million. This year we're at $8.4. It's an increase of approximately $988,000. On the prescription drugs, last year we were at $2.5 million, which is compared to this year we're at $3.4 million. And again, we're also looking at an increase there of approximately $900,000. The fixed cost is almost identical, which is your stop-loss premiums and your administrative fees that we pay to the TPA. They're right now at $2.2 million. So total, last year, we're at $12.2 million versus this year at $14.1 million. We are starting to receive some money via stop-loss reimbursement, so we received exactly $211,000, $327.46. So right now, we're at $13,942,659.31. So it's about a 14% increase over last year. And I'll move on to the self-funded.
Mike, real quick before you move on. They both went up about a little bit over $900,000?
Correct.
Okay, yet the Blue Cross or the health insurance is 7.5 million. So if you do the math, and I don't have a calculator, I'm just going to say that it's roughly somewhere around 12 to 15% increase on that.
On the claims,
Yeah.
I'd have to get a calculator out, yeah.
And yet on the I guess the pharmaceutical benefits, is that the one that's 3.43?
That's
Yes.
correct.
That one went up also by almost $1 million, so that's really like 30% increase on that one. Is that about right?
More or less. I'll do the
Okay, now,
percentages.
I think you've said in the past that 12, 15% is a normal increase, yearly increase on costs.
Trend is about
Trend?
trend. Mhm.
Yet our pharmaceutical benefits went up by 30%. And I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
Good
Well, I think it's
observation.
just a reflection of our claims. We had a good year in 17 and 18 with the claims, and this year we just had a lot of claims.
The number of claims.
It's just the number of claims, I think, is, we have more claims, obviously more prescriptions are being written, but also the cost of
The
prescriptions
cost
keep going
of
up.
medication has gone up, and you see that everywhere in the news. So just to give it some perspective, as of April, our high-class claimants, we had 13 high-class claimants, which is everybody over $50,000. This year
How many?
through 13.
13.
Last year. This year, we had 24 through April.
Correct.
So you have a significance in high-cost claimants. So with that comes more drugs and more expensive drugs.
Correct.
Yet it's a little bit out of whack, because 12 to 15 as opposed to 30%, that's twice as much.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Any more comments? All right.
The workers' compensation program, we're still doing very well there. We had 89 claims this year versus last year of 100. However, we are unfortunately have to spend a little bit more, so we paid $152,417.58 out of the incurred amount, which is $264,227.86. So we still need to keep $100,810.27 in reserves, because that money is, of course, earmarked for those claims. But either or, we're still very healthy in our workers' compensation program. And those are the two slides.
The fiscal year ends, when does it end for the claims? In
The
August?
fiscal year ends August 31st.
Okay. Okay, all right, thanks, Mike.
And the last report is our preliminary highlights of the budget for 2019-2020. And Mr. Andres Sanchez will walk us through this one. The 2019-2020 budget is in progress. We have received preliminary 2019 property values from the Hidalgo County Appraisal District to estimate property tax collections. The preliminary budget basic allotment figures were given to schools based on their ADA counts for this school year, 2018-2019. Almost all schools and almost all departments have entered their budgets into our financial software. State-funded departments have not yet received their allocations because we're still not completely sure of what their special population entitlements will be. We're talking about CTE, special ed, state comp ed, and bilingual education. We will continue to work on the proposed revenues and expenditures as we continue with the budget process. And for staffing purposes, any vacancies that need to be filled will be handled through attrition.
Can we put on the update the number of teachers that we had 2 years ago compared, or the last 3 years?
Okay.
Are we, as far as teachers, are we reducing teachers for the last 3 years?
So we can do the teachers
Can you-
versus the student enrollment, sir?
No, just number of teachers.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Because you have your enrollment, and just, I want to see the number of teachers that we've had for the last 3 years, see if it's gone down
Okay, we can do that,
or
sir.
remained steady.
And it should have gone down because the number of students that we've lost over the last couple of years.
Andres, you want to take over?
My turn now?
You can do it.
Okay, on the next slide, I have a recap of 5 years of ADA for going back to 2015-16 through the projection for next year. We had 15,800 for 15-16. Then the following year, we projected 15,800. We actually had 16,334, so we gained 500. The next year, we went down to 16,100, being conservative. We barely made it. 17-18, we budgeted 16,170. We only had 15,906 as actual. For 18-19, we budgeted the same, 15,905, and we're short 85 this year. So for next year, we have 15,751, which is the actual ADA without any additional counts from the SASI program. That's how we use it for calculation of state funds for next year.
That's why I asked on your teachers, because your ADA has gone down every year. So has your staff gone down too? That's kind of what you need to look at.
Yes, sir.
So this year it was 15,800, you said,
Yes, sir.
for 2019?
Yeah, including the SASI count was 15,820.
Yeah, just look at that scale. See if you remain the same or increased or decreased,
Yes.
just based on this. I hate for you all to say that you're not going to have any vacancies through attrition, because the campus might need teachers.
Yes, yeah.
So we don't want to waver, 22-1. We want to
No,
keep
we-
it there. Just because they resign, don't feel it, we need to look at it carefully.
Yes, sir.
Andres, I know we're starting the budget process, but, or Dr. Canales, with the shortfall of the ADA of the 630,000, the increase in the insurance of almost $2 million, do you have the money?
Ask me the question again?
Do you have the money?
Yes, well, for the current year, we have excess collections, property taxes, just like in prior years. That's going to help us offset that deficit on the ADA.
Okay.
Yes. For this year, yes.
And we're hoping that we'll get some money from the state, correct?
And we will.
We will,
yes.
okay.
We will.
Go ahead.
The next slide, sorry. The newly adopted state laws related to taxpayer advocacy approved the compression of the M&O tax rates for school districts, so they made them lower. I have a table there showing for the 18-19, the M&O tax rate was $113.97. For next year, it's going to be $1.04.87 pennies, almost 105. The INL will remain the same at 2 pennies, so our new total rate will probably be $1.07. And this is mandated by the legislature, so we had to do it like that.
That was part of House Bill 3?
Yes, sir. And there were several bills, but it's reflected in 3 as well, yes.
Okay.
And they were counting on district getting, the law change that we're going to get less money from taxes, but we're going to get more money from the ADA to the changes made by the legislature.
Correct.
We have received preliminary state funding information from various sources. We have 3 different groups giving us information, and we have differences between them, so we're trying to make sure we get the correct one, so we don't give you wrong information. That's why we haven't made some of the information and some of the allotments. We have not calculated total revenues or expenditures because we're still waiting on the clarification, like I mentioned. The school got their basic allocation based on preliminary amounts, based on the ADA for the current year. Elementary school got $120, middle school's $135, high school's $200.
Is that the same that they received last year?
Last year, yes, sir.
Okay.
And we did this back in sometime late April.
Okay.
They calculated, because we didn't know how much money we were going to get. Now that we got the money, once we finish the calculations, we'll discuss it with Dr. Canales and the board, so we can see if we can increase the allocation for the schools.
Andres, when you say the actual ADA,
Yes, sir.
The schools will get for their ADA, or you're gonna just divide it evenly among the schools?
You know, the ADA that I was talking about, actually the ADA is for the district.
Okay,
But the numbers of each school, sorry,
right.
the school based on the ADA for each school, that they had each school.
I'm
for
talking about
year.
the 120, 135, and the 200.
Mhm.
That's gonna be a ADA per school?
Multiply times the number of ADA they had, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
And you base that on what number, when?
And the ADA is for the entire year. Remember, we're using the whole 6 weeks? I used to use peak enrollment per campus.
Correct.
So everybody got the benefit of the best enrollment, but they started going down.
Right.
So we changed it to ADA.
Okay.
On slide 6, we have health insurance. Using the 2018-2019 claim data through April 30, we had calculated that we would probably have about a $1.5 million deficit on the medical plan. And also with the company, thank you.
There you go, thank you.
The
Ms.
TPA
Peterson.
gave us the information on the renewal. They were making projections of an increase on the claims for next year that make us think that we need to increase our premiums or the amount we charge employees and the district contribution from 10 to 20%. We're still working on figuring out how much that is going to be. As we get closer through, in the budget process, we'll come up with a better number. But that's what we're looking at right now, having to increase the health insurance for both employees and district. One of the key components of the legislature changes was additional compensation for school district employees. And they say that 30% of the total gain in state funds obtained from fiscal year 2019-2020 compared to the 2018-2019 will be set aside for compensation. And compensation includes the pay raise plus benefits like Medicare, workers' compensation, TRS, things like that. From that 30% that we're going to come up with, 75% of that is supposed to be used for teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses, prioritizing differentiated compensation for classroom teachers with more than 5 years of experience, which means 6 or more. The remaining 25% of that amount will be used for compensation increases for full-time employees as determined by the district. And this is the amount that we have to provide based on the money we're gonna get. It's up to the district to add more compensation, depending on how we see the funds. While we finalize the state funding calculations on the special population allotments, we will be able to recommend compensation increases for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Did you get an amount? You have 30% of new monies.
Mhm.
What are the new monies? Is there a figure?
Right now,
I know you had a meeting
Yes.
with Lynn Moak on Friday.
yes, sir.
What amount did he give you, the 30%?
Sorry, I'm laughing because the information that Lynn Moak presented doesn't have correct data for the district, has higher numbers. So they were coming up with, I believe, 15 million or something, it's a huge amount. So they were saying that we have about, no, it was higher, about 18 million, that we have about 8 million for funding, for compensation, and it's not that much. The number that we're using the template provided by Omar Garcia, who used to work for TA, is about 13.5 million. But we still need to figure out compensatory education. We don't have any guidance to how we're gonna come up with that one.
Right.
That is the one that's holding us back to know the total amount. But we hope that next week, we'll have better idea of talking to
Right.
the different people. Equity Center, Mo Casting Associates, and Omar Garcia.
That's right. Okay, thanks.
And the last slide talks about the timeline for the approval of the budget and the tax rate. We like to have another workshop, budget workshop, either June 24th or July 1st. I don't know when the board will have a chance. We'd like to do check with you all later on this week. And then
We'll
also
have a
a-
workshop only if you have new information.
Yes,
If you don't have anything new, don't
correct. That's what
get
I
a
was looking at,
workshop.
July 1, unless we can get information sooner, yes, sir. On July 29, before the board meeting of July, another workshop. Then August 12, before the August 12 meeting, another workshop. By that time, we hope to be putting all the budget together. And in one of these meetings, hopefully the July 29 meeting, if not the 12th, have approval of the compensation final amounts. That way we can start finalizing the budget after that. And then August 26, having the public hearing to discuss the budget, and at the special meeting afterwards, approve the budget. And with all the delays and the changes on the tax rate, they were talking about having to approve the tax rate in September, maybe even later. So right now, I put September 2019 because we don't have a date yet. But last year, we approved it in September, so that could be a time to approve it, September 2019. The tax rate for the new year, 1920. Any other questions?
Questions, comments?
Use the new money wisely
Yes.
that you're gonna get.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll calculate it and run it by the board.
And again, the state has earmarked certain percent for certain compensation, correct?
Yes, sir, Yes. And then they change the amount required to be spent, like bilinguals, CTE, they give us an amount, 55% on the program.
Okay.
We can spend more, but at least we have to spend that amount. So we have to go through all those. High school allotment and GT, those funds were done away with, but we have to provide the amount. So that's about $2 million we have to come up with, even though we're not gonna get more funds for that.
Oh, which
So we
one
have
you
to-
said? For the high school allotment?
High school allotment and the GT.
Oh, yes.
So we have to calculate, include that as well.
Okay.
Mr. Sanchez, with
Yes,
the lower tax rates, do you have an idea as to how much that'll lower the tax revenues? How much we would be looking at?
It's about $1.3 million. So the total amount that we were looking at,
On the tax
I
revenues?
didn't bring it with, but it's about $1.3 million less.
Okay.
We can put that in the update.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Andres.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Canales, is that the final?
That's it.
All right, let's continue on.
This has a revision, so do I need to tell her about the county for things?
Oh, yes. On the consent agenda, let's see, we need to pull any out. Let me start from the left. Mr. Kennedy?
Nothing to pull.
Okay. Dr. Jaime?
I have none.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Letter J.
Item J. Dr. Rivera?
Let me look at letter N. N.
Okay. Dr. Rivera. Mr. Lopez?
I also have some questions on N, but we'll-
N? On N? Okay. Mr. Cuellar?
No.
None?
I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items J and N.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Dr. Jaime to approve the consent agenda except for J and N. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, except for J and N. Item number J, Mr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Canales, on our iStation, I know we're spending a lot of money, and every year it's always iStation, but what data do we have? Or can we get data? You know, I know there's multiple companies, I understand that,
Yeah.
but
This is actually a decrease over the cost for last year, so they did work with us on the cost, and we use it all the way through 8th grade. So there are some required assessments that we have to submit to the state that iStation facilitates in an expedient manner.
okay.
We also track teacher use and how much time teachers are using, how much time actually the student use, and then also student progress. So it helps tier the students, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and we can see their progress through. And as teachers have become more familiar with iStation, we've seen better use and better progress on our students. And you saw the reading scores at the elementary schools.
At the elementary. Okay, well, again, I didn't have a problem. I just want to make sure that we're paying for some, but we're using it and we can get the numbers that you need to.
How long have we used iStation at the middle schools?
3 years?
About 3 years? Okay.
I move to approve item J on the consent agenda.
3 years.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Kennedy to approve item,
Second.
and second by Mr. Gonzalez. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Ms. P. Thank you, Abel.
Motion carries. Item number N, pulled by Dr. Rivera.
Yes, right now, who's doing the service for occupational therapy?
It's the company we're recommending, Dr. Rivera. They've done it, provided the service the last 2 years.
And interpreting services?
That one is a different company.
Who's doing it, this past year?
It's a company called a Sign Language Company. They didn't submit a proposal.
On the school therapy, are the amounts about the same, the service and the amounts?
The last 2 years was the same company, and the amounts are pretty much the same the last 2 years.
And these you start at the beginning of the year?
That's correct,
In
Dr.
August.
Rivera. That's correct. And the cost the last 2 years has gone down from previous vendors that we've had. And it's been a good service. We've been satisfied, and we polled some of our self-contained teachers, and they provided good feedback as well.
Personally, I would like more information from all of these firms. If you don't need this like right now, if you can wait till August, I'd rather not make the motion to go ahead and table this to the next board meeting.
We have a motion by Dr. Rivera to table item N. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Rivera to table item N on the consent agenda, and a second by Coach Cuellar. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Neil, would this by us tabling the item, will any of the services affect any of our students?
Right now, no. The only concern I have is a lot of these companies provide services to other districts, and so they wait to get word about which direction districts are going, and then they'll hire staff accordingly. So that'd be the only concern I have, just because of the timing.
And you've used both of these companies?
That's correct.
And you're happy with them?
I am.
Dr. Canales, I have one question. On this item, I mean, this is, in my opinion, very important because it's our kids that are getting the service. And in the past, it's always been on discussion and possible action item. And I don't know if this is the first time that we put it on consent, or maybe I've passed it up and not overlooked that fact. But I think that I would like to see this on a discussion and possible action item instead of just a consent agenda. Is like, let's go, let's get it done with. You know, our children, again, and these are special kids that really need a lot of help, and they're, I feel we should have more discussion on it.
I agree with that.
Good point. All right, so we have a motion by Dr. Rivera to table this item, a second by Coach Cuellar. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands. How many ayes? All right. All opposed? All right. Motion carries to table this item. Correct?
Okay.
All right. Let's continue on.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
God bless you.
Item 9, discussion items. First reading of revisions to policy FFAC local wellness and health services, medical treatment. Dr. Canales?
This one requires no action. We have Mrs. Kaufman here and Mr. Garcia, who can answer any questions. But the purpose of this is to provide, in the event that we have an opioid overdose, to provide a blocker that can reverse most cases of that overdose if given on time. In 2015, Texas enacted Senate Bill 1462, which made naloxone available and where, if needed. The school nurse possesses the knowledge and education to identify overdoses, to respond with this drug, and to manage the side effects until emergency medical services can respond. So it's just a first reading where FFAC local wellness and health services will include the administration of the opioid antagonist medication. So it's just to be proactive in case we do have an incident. It could save a life. We've checked with the legal on it. We're good. We've checked with risk management. We're good. We checked with districts around the region. There's not any in the region that are using this.
Donna is.
Donna is. And so staff just feels that if something does happen, we want to be prepared and ready to save a life.
We did have one overdose this year,
Okay.
and the student got it from a parent. And she collapsed in the cafeteria. EMS was contacted. EMS thought it was a syncopal episode, and the nurse said it was an overdose. They didn't use a Narcan. The nurse was right. I spoke to Mr. Lopez from EMS. He feels that we should have it because at some schools their response time is more than 3 minutes, which would be 4 to 5 with brain dead. And there are really no negative side effects to it. So
Even if you administer it and somebody's not
yes,
overdosing.
Right.
It's also
I'll
very
move to
important.
approve.
Well, it's just
No
discussion.
action.
What
It's
is it, our-
it's a first reading.
First reading.
Discussion now, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also very important to mention that it's at no cost to the district.
Right.
Because it is provided by the Valley AIDS Council, if I'm correct.
Good policy.
It's good to be proactive and, be prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who will you be consulting with to form the, I guess, the standard operating procedures when it comes to administering this?
It's already written.
We've been working on it already. so.
Okay, fantastic.
All right.
There's a large coalition of school nurses that we just don't want anyone to die on our watch. So this will prevent it in a very easy and inexpensive way.
Well, excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
So we'll be bringing it next month for discussion and action.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 9B, interim financial report for the 9 months ended May 31st, 2019. Dr.
And this
Canales?
is also a no action item. We do have Mr. Sanchez who walks us through this one.
On the interim financial report for the 9 months ended May 31, 2019, in the general fund of a budget of $170,330,000, we have received already 141,360,000, which represents 82.99%. And of the expenditures in all functions, from a total of 177,129,000, we have spent or encumbered 122,465,000, which represents 69%. As of May, the functions look good. The one that is getting close is transportation, 34, with an 85%. Usually, 9 months, the percentage should be 75%.
Why the increase?
Well, May is basically the end of the school year. So in June, there's not as much expenditures. So by the time we get to May, we should be at 83%. And there shouldn't be that much expenditure. So we should be pretty close to the correct amount. And then July as well. So in July, we'll know whether we need to increase budget or we're okay with what we have.
Okay.
But as of May 31, it looked close.
But normally May, with all the field trips that occur in May, that's quite an expenditure too, right?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez, what's our unassigned fund balance?
Right now, prior to the amendments that were approved today, is about 13 million. I'm sorry, no, 18 million. The fund balance assigned for facilities is 13 million.
Okay.
Facilities are all it needs. But unassigned is 18 million.
So if we don't utilize all 177 million by August, we'll have a surplus there?
Yes, we'll have some surplus. And part of these funds are the food service, which are federal fund that we cannot touch.
Right.
We also had money from State Com, bilingual money that if we don't get to spend it, we have to roll it forward to the next year to spend it.
Okay.
So we'll make adjustments for that.
Okay.
Anything
Yes,
that's not encumbered, because everybody has a certain budget to work with, but whatever has not been encumbered so far, where's that going to go?
If it doesn't get spent by the end of the year, and by that I mean some of the money gets spent for staff development in the summer, in June or July, and beginning of August for some
Simple
of the
answer,
presentations,
fund
staff
balance.
development. If it doesn't get spent then,
fund
it goes
balance.
to fund balance, yes, sir.
We still keep that money?
Yes. But it's still money that could still be spent.
Correct. Okay. Any other comments? Thank you, Andres.
Thank you.
Item 9C, acknowledgement of Hidalgo County Tax Office collection report for May 2019. Current taxes and delinquent taxes. Dr. Canales?
Okay. And do you have that one up here, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes. Yes, I put it in next to the paper you have there.
Okay.
Take a look. Yes. You got your copy? It's inside that paper clip.
Hold on, let's see. Yes, it should be like the second one in the paperclip ones.
Oh,
That should be in there.
Stacked to
9C,
your-
yeah, correct. It's here.
To your left.
It's the second item, I believe.
Got it.
Through May 31 of 2019, from current taxes, we had collected 24,439,000, which represents 93.16%. Last year, we collected 93.57, so we are 0.41% lower this year. And on delinquent taxes for the prior year levies, we collected 791,753, which represents 20.3%. And last year, we collected 24.28%. That is almost 4% lower than last year. Any questions?
Why do you say that in the delinquent taxes it was lower? For what reason?
The prior, but we don't collect all the taxes all the time. So there's always one amount that goes to as a receivable, and the next year we collect some of them. Every year we collect some of them.
Okay. Any other comments? Dr. Canales? All right. Thank you, Andres. Item 9D, presentation by Purdue, Brendan, Fielder, Collins, and Mott LLP Delinquent Tax Attorneys, firm of the Delinquent Tax Collection Activity Report for the period from September 1st, 2018 through April 30, 2019. Mr. Gutierrez.
Good evening, Dr. Canales, President Nieto, members of the board. For the record, my name is Hiram Gutierrez, partner with Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins and Mott, your delinquent tax firm. And I'm here to present you with your delinquent tax report for the period of September 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2019. That is the first 8 months of your fiscal year. Our program for Weslaco ISD is designed with contacting and working with your taxpayers to collect the delinquent taxes. To that end, our call center here locally has made over 9,900 contacts with your taxpayers that owe delinquent taxes. We also conduct mailings from our local office. We have sent over 1,400 notices of delinquency to your taxpayers. We conduct property inspections. During this period, we've conducted 78 property inspections of properties that are owing taxes to Weslaco ISD. When we do contact your taxpayers, they're not always to pay in full, so we do enter into payment agreements. During this period, we have entered into 83 payment agreements involving over $213,000 in base tax owed to Weslaco ISD. When all those efforts do not have the desired effect, we do proceed with litigation. And during this period, we have filed 140 petitions or interventions involving over $1,163,000 in base tax owed to Weslaco ISD. Once we take a judgment, we still try to work with taxpayers before we go to tax sale. Even after we take the judgment, we contact taxpayers. We try to avoid putting the property up to tax sale. The reason being is that once we put it up for tax sale, that incurs additional costs, somewhere in between $500 to $750 in additional costs. So we still try to contact your taxpayers, try to avoid the tax sales process. Unfortunately, sometimes that does not happen. During this period, we have put 20 properties up for tax sale. The results of those tax sale properties was 3 were paid in full, involving over $10,200 owed to the school district. 9 properties were struck off, that is, they did not receive a winning bid, involving over $70,000 to the school district. And 16 properties were sold, bringing in over $94,000 in base tax to the school district. I want to point out, not all that money is reflected in this report yet, because the money has not been sent to the tax office just yet. In addition to tax sales, again, when properties get struck off, the taxing entities become the owner of the property. So we go to a second sale, what we call a tax resale. During this property, we have sold 6 properties that had been struck off, bringing in over $20,000 to the school district. We also represent you in bankruptcies. During this period, we filed 7 proofs of claim involving over $4,300 in base tax owed to the school district. Of course, all our efforts are geared to one goal, and that is to collect delinquent taxes for the school district. During this period, we've collected over $722,000 in base tax owed to the school district, and an additional $328,000 in penalties and interest, for a combined $1,051,000 owed to the school district. And the last page of your report has a comparison of last year versus this year. As you can see, unfortunately, last year collections were 22.16% at the end of April. This year, they are at 18.50%. The good news here is last year, your delinquency was $4,074,000. This year, your delinquency is $3,908,000. In other words, the delinquency out there owed to the school district has decreased. That is not always the case. Every year we collect taxes for the school district. At the end of the year, at the end of, actually at the beginning of July 1st, the new taxes, in this case the 28 taxes, are turned over to the delinquent tax attorneys. If you do not collect more than what is turned over to you, your delinquency increases. That has not been happening for Weslaco ISD for the last couple of years. Your delinquency has actually decreased. Right. You might have a question, well, what's going on here at Weslaco ISD? And I have to say, last year, the flooding here in Weslaco ISD definitely had an impact on your taxpayers. They're having difficulty paying, but we're working very closely with the taxpayers. That's the importance of contacting, phone contacts with the taxpayers, finding out what their situation is, what is the problem, how can we work through this problem? And I think we've been successful in overcoming a lot of the problems and been able to collect a lot of money for the school district and continue working with your taxpayers without having to resort to selling properties outright.
No one has lost their home?
No homesteads. We've sold properties, but no homesteads have been sold.
Good.
Comments on the right side or questions? Mr. Lopez or Mr. Cuellar?
I'm good.
Good? On the left side?
I'm okay.
We're okay?
Thank you.
Good
All
job.
right, thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we're at item number, Roman numeral 10, discussion and possible action items. Item A, discussion possible action for the board to approve the revision to local policy EIC, academic achievement, class ranking. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees Committee composed of high school administrators, counselors, central office staff has been reviewing this policy and practice for class rank and graduation requirements. Mrs. Peterson has spearheaded the meeting of committees along with Mrs. Norma Brewer. It's involved, like I said, high school staff, parents. We had parent meetings both at Weslaco East High School and Weslaco High School. And the principals had meetings with students about these changes that we're recommending for EIC. The first recommended change is regarding rank for seniors and to consider everything up to the point of the end of the first semester. And so why, in looking and meeting with staff, many students are enrolled in dual courses through second semester of their senior year. It includes students in our early college high schools and others that select dual credit options for various core and elective requirements. Professors for STC dual credit are not required to record a 6 weeks grade. This creates a problem for seniors enrolled in dual courses, as current policy requires a 4th and 5th week, 6 weeks grade to run rank. Ranking students at the end of the first semester of their senior year will eliminate this issue and align grades used to rank seniors with all other grades used for rank, which are semester grades. If approved, this is one change that we're recommending that we want to go into effect this with a class of 2020. So that would be the seniors and every class thereafter. So that's the first recommendation. The second recommendation.
On the first
Yes, sir.
one, does it affect the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors?
It will. Yes, sir, it will, in the future.
Okay.
But it would start.
So the second semester, they thought was going to count, and now it's not going to count.
For the seniors.
No, for the freshmen.
Oh, no, the freshmen will count.
It counts for every semester counts except for the last semester
Okay.
senior year.
Of your senior year.
But right now, your juniors, for example, are they under the impression that it's going to count the second semester on the class
Because
rank?
it's policy, if they know what the policy is, yes. How many of them know this policy? I don't know. The principals meet with the seniors
Okay.
at the beginning
So
of the year.
So I'm a junior
Mhm.
right now.
You could be thinking, yes,
I'm thinking that the second semester will count.
it could, yes.
But now with this policy, it's not going to count.
Right.
So you might get some unhappy students.
For the juniors, it will count.
Because normally you start something like this beginning with the freshman class.
Correct. And the reason we want to change, Dr. Rivera, because I know, and we've been adamant about not changing policy for court classes that are in-house, but with the increased number of students taking dual enrollment, not just with our early college high schools, but other students too, it's
I
becoming an
understand all of that.
increasing
It's
issue.
just-
So yes, we
I
understand.
understand it just now with freshman, sophomore thinking that it's going to count. Now
Right.
it's not going to count.
So we will, whatever is approved or not approved by the board, wherever we're at in August, we will have parent and student orientation sessions to review any changes, and even if there aren't any changes, to review everything with seniors, especially going into senior year. But if there are changes, then we'll invite everyone to go
So
over
a junior
things.
then, the second semester will not count
For
right
their
now?
junior year, yes. Senior year, no. It's only
Oh, but
the
it counts
senior
right-
year,
it counts
second
right now.
semester.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
now I'm clear.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay?
I thought I wasn't going to count. It was
Because-
going to go back 2 or
Right.
3 years.
Only senior
Only
year,
the
second
seniors.
semester.
So they'll know in August it's not going to count.
Right,
I'm okay.
correct.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm okay.
correct.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Rivera and a second by Mr. Kennedy to approve the revision to local policy EIC academic achievement class ranking. Any more discussion?
Yes. Dr. Rivera, I just want to make sure you're including the second recommendation, go to the core classes, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'm good.
Quick question, Ms. Peak. Now, and currently, correct me if I'm wrong, but they include fifth, 6 weeks grades as for the 6 weeks also?
What we
6
do
weeks?
is, current policy is you take the fourth 6 weeks and the fifth 6 weeks grade, and you average those together and use that for the semester grade. So it's, this past spring, became more of an issue in securing those 6 weeks grades because we are contracting with more STC professors than we have in the past. Our own teachers that teach STC, they give us the 6 weeks grades.
Correct.
That's just a part of what they do. But
Andrew-
STC professors do not. So when we're securing them, they're giving us a grade for, we don't know.
Correct.
And so the accuracy of that grade and the reflection of the student's work, we feel, is not for the importance of this rank issue. We want to go back to semester week where we can feel confident that that's a grade that reflects the work of the student.
Andrew had a good point on this one. So the core subjects, but those will count for the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors this past year. It'll count.
The core subjects, that change, that second revision there is only for the incoming freshmen.
Freshmen, okay.
Incoming freshmen only.
So the juniors and
because that one's
sophomores,
significant.
it'll still count what
Follow
they
the old
have.
All
policies.
classes.
What they have right
All
now.
classes.
That's a good
yes.
observation.
And really what it's changing is what is multiplied by 1.25 on the top tier.
Or 1.5, or
And I
we
thi-
have different tiers. Now, they're going to be called tiers. That's the
Right.
new wording that TASB's recommending. So the top tier gets the highest rank, and then the second tier, and then for incoming freshmen, we're going to count the weighted English, math, science, and social studies only. We're not going to count anything else in rank.
And I think, talking from experience, a lot of times at the end of the first semester, your top 25, your top 50 don't change much
A
by
little
that
bit,
time.
yeah.
But maybe a little bit, but not a lot.
I guess the only thing I'm confused about is the actual wording. It creates the tiers, and the tier system is 1.25, 1.15, things like that. But the tier 1 says it's for the core classes, the English, the mathematics, science, and social studies. But tier 2, tier 3, they leave that out.
So it depends which class you're talking about, because for next year's sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they will have the tier. So on page 3 of 7, that is the policy that will remain in place for for next year's sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So they cross it out on page 2 because they're renaming it tiers on page 3. And then when you go to page 5, that is for the incoming freshmen. So incoming freshmen, it is just tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 for English, math, science, and social studies credits. We don't need a tier 4 because there is no tier 4 for the incoming freshmen using the rank.
Okay.
Mrs. Peak, going back to my question earlier, where we average the fourth and fifth 6 weeks grade. Now, so that, with this new policy, it's just going to stop at the first semester?
Correct, yes. So they have to continue to get the grades because they have to pass their classes because the college can uninvite them, if they've become accepted. So we still have to work with seniors. Yes, your grades are important because you still have to pass your class.
So the idea behind the core, I'm guessing, is because you have a lot of electives that students will take to try and increase, try to game the system, in other words, to increase their class rank.
Correct.
And so we're saying basically, we're going to focus on the absolute core main subjects of school. I guess to incentivize them from taking a regular class and then maybe basket weaving pre-AP or something like that.
Well, we had students who were dropping cheerleading because it will hurt my rank, dropping a sport because it will hurt my rank, dropping theater arts because it will hurt my rank, dropping AVID 4, which is a class where they learn to write, they assist them in writing college applications and filling out financial aid, dropping key classes that really can help them because it will hurt their rank. And I put a sample in last week's update to show you that it would in fact do that if we include all courses. So if we pull those elective courses out of the rank, then I can explore my interest areas. I can stay in athletics, in band, in theater, in my CTE classes, and get that experience that we want our well-rounded students to have without worrying that it's going to knock me out of the top 10. It's basically a small group of students that worry about it, but it still does impact, so.
I think that's a great idea.
And this new policy will pretty much be in line with most school districts?
It depends. We polled, we did a lot of looking, the committee did. So core only is La Jolla, Los Fresnos, McAllen, Mission, and Sharyland. They go core only.
Correct.
A couple of the other districts include Spanish. We chose not to. And then we do have still Brownsville, San Benito, and South Texas ISD who include everything. There are some districts you can't figure out what they include and what they don't because the way the policy is written, PSJ doesn't post a EIC local to even compare. But La Jolla, Los Fresnos, McAllen, Mission, and Sharyland all take only the 4 core.
And I think-
Motion to approve.
Second.
We already had a motion by Dr. Rivera. And I had a motion by Mr. Kennedy. So, all right, any more discussion? I think
I would like to just make a statement, and I see that the personnel involved in, I guess, working this project were all the 4 principals, is that correct?
That is correct.
You had input from all 4 principals. Norman Brewer also was involved. And how long has the prior system been there, the prior scoring or the prior ranking?
I don't know. Dr. Rivera?
Forever and a day. Dr. Rivera?
Long
A
time.
very long time.
Long time.
Very long time. Okay.
Well, I think it started when we started introducing AP courses to the high
Okay.
schools.
Which has been around a very long time.
I know there's
Yes.
been a lot of changes with the addition of the colleges and all that, the college hours that the students are getting, so as long as the principals are involved and they're go for it, I'm go for it too.
And I think a lot of San Antonio schools are in this direction already. from
We look
several years ago.
statewide, yes.
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion by Dr. Rivera, second by Mr. Kennedy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Peterson, for everything.
I'm just
Peterson
gonna
and everybody else.
stay here for the next one.
Item B, discussion and possible action for the board to approve the revision to local policy EIF, academic achievement, graduation. Dr. Canales.
Okay, Mrs. Peterson, you.
So this one's a little simpler, but it is, again, having to do with credits. For a very long time, Weslaco has required 1 additional credit above the state. And we are asking that we remove that requirement, and that is policy EIF local. It was added at a time where the plans weren't as rigorous as they are now, so it made our Weslaco ISD plan more rigorous. However, we do have very rigorous graduation plans now. All of our students start on the foundation with endorsement plan. They do not move off that until at some point in their junior or senior year in consultation with their counselor, the parent, and the student, and several forms read and signed. So we feel that going back to what the state requires, which is 26 with an endorsement, 22 with a foundation plan, will not hurt in any way any of our students. And the group that it benefits are those most at risk of not graduating on time. Our students that finish at South Palm Gardens High School, students who struggle for whatever reason, and there are many with coursework. So this is less complicated than the first change and puts us in line with state requirements.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion by Dr. Jaime
Yes, sir.
and a second by Mr. Gonzalez to approve the revision to local policy EIF academic achievement. Any more discussion
Yeah, it used to be 18 credits,
at one
Yes.
time?
and then 21, and then 22, and
And most of our students have above 32, or at
Yes.
least 32, so.
All right, no more discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. P.
Item C, discussion and possible action for the board to approve the revision to local policy DFBB term contracts non-renewal. Dr. Canales?
Board of Trustees, in this policy, we're looking to modify it so that the board or a designated attorney would conduct a non-renewal hearing, if there happens to be one. So it has to do with non-renewals. At this point, the policy does include that the non-renewals have to be heard by an independent hearing officer. We can change this so that it's the board or a designated attorney.
I'll move to approve.
Attorney, okay?
We have a motion.
Second?
Okay.
What's the difference between what we do now and this policy?
What we do now, there's, Mr. Bettis, do you want to explain it, how it happens, because it goes to the commissioner?
There's a law that currently allows non-renewals to be treated as termination hearings. And so under the education code, if there's a termination hearing, the employee has the ability to request an independent hearing examiner to hear the case, to sit as judge and jury, but they need to make the request of the Commissioner of Education. Commissioner of Education will then assign somebody to hear it, and the district will have to end up paying. I mean, there's another component, has to pay the independent hearing examiner to listen to the case. And so if you have an independent hearing examiner, the rules of evidence apply, the Texas rules of evidence apply. When you don't go through the Commissioner of Education and allow the board or an attorney that you all were to select, the attorney cannot be an attorney that represents a school district or represents any employees of a school district. So it would be your decision to decide to hire an attorney to sit as judge and jury, or you all as a board, which is what a majority of districts do. The board sits and will listen to a non-renewal. The rules of evidence don't apply, but you still have certain procedures, a little more formal than a grievance hearing, but a lot less formal than the independent hearing examiner process. So the law allows those procedural safeguards in termination hearings, and right now under the policy, it's a more rigorous standard for the district to go through the independent hearing examiner process, and so that was the reason for thinking of maybe just allowing the board or a designee.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion by Dr. Jaime and a second by Dr. Rivera to approve the revision on term contracts. Any more discussion? All in favor? All, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item D, discussion and possible action for the board to approve the memorandum of understanding between WISD and the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley to provide dual enrollment classes to WISD students at Weslaco High School and Weslaco East High School for the 2019-2020 and 2020-21 school years. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, Mrs. Bruin, Mrs. Peterson, the team has been working on a partnership with the University of Texas Rio Grande to offer dual enrollment courses to high school students at both of our comprehensive high schools. It's an opportunity for students to, of course, earn dual credit while in high school. And earning credit at UTRGV helps them to become eligible for some of their scholarships. This would be for core courses only, correct? And it's online during the day in a lab. A teacher from the campus will be assigned to that lab. It's a first time for us. It offers another opportunity, like I said, to earn dual credit. There's no tuition or fees. UTRGV covers that. We do pay for books. And we have Mrs. Peterson here if you have any questions about it. But it's a good opportunity for our kids.
The budgeting for the books is paid out of the campus budget?
Well, it used to be paid out of high school allotment, which we
Correct.
don't have anymore. So all of the early college, high school, and dual costs will go to the local budget,
And these are online classes, right?
online.
Now, they're going to be dual or AP or,
The dual weight.
now, they'll be weighted as long as they're, for the first semester, weighted for the GPA.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And our budget can absorb the hit on the local?
Yes, we can, and yes, we will.
Well,
Because we don't want to hinder
Yeah.
dual enrollment
I'll
for
make a
our
motion to
students.
approve.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez and a second by Dr. Jaime? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To approve the memorandum of understanding between WISD and University of Texas Rio Grande Valley to provide dual enrollment classes to Weslaco High and Weslaco East High School students for 2 years. Any more discussion?
I just want to say that's a great thing. You know, our students will be enrolled in a university and also while attending Weslaco High School. That's, in other words, we don't have to wait till after graduation to put our kids into college. They're already there,
College now.
It'll be
College is
e- e-
now.
Either high school.
right? Both high schools. It's
Correct.
a great thing. Great thing.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item E, discussion of possible action for the board to renew the district's professional errors and omissions insurance with AIG as submitted by Shepherd Walton King, or authorize administration to solicit proposals for the same. Dr. Canales.
Mr. Nieto,
Yes.
Dr. Canales, I'm going to abstain from this item. I'm going to excuse myself.
Okay.
My understanding is the renewal would actually come with a decrease in cost. for
It's
next year.
it's about an $800 decrease for this coming year.
So we're okay with what we have?
We're okay with what we have.
I will move to renew the errors and omissions insurance.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Dr. Jaime to renew the district professional errors and omissions with Shepherd Walton King. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Did Dr. Rivera leave or he's coming back?
His
Just
stuff
took a
is
look back. Okay, okay. Item F, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of the final completion of the construction and installation of the digital scoreboard for Bobby Leckie Stadium, project CSP number 170865. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, the scope consisted of the construction installment of the scoreboard for Bobby Leckie Stadium. We're recommending to approve closing the project and provide the final payment. The project has been completed on time, correct? And after board approval, we will proceed to pay the project's retainage amount. So this project began over a year ago, about a year ago.
Was it May, June?
So we're just recommending for you to approve the final completion of the construction and installation of the scoreboard. Do you have any questions? We have 4 staff members in front of me.
Is everybody happy? Are y'all, well, not happy, but satisfied with the product and the operations and the service that they've given you all? We've had, I know we've had, all year to work with it, so.
Yes, sir, everything's been working great. Scoreboard's been great addition to the stadium. Yes, sir.
And we still have warranty, right, going forward?
Correct.
How many years, more or less?
I think it was 10 years.
10-year warranty?
Yes, sir.
And I
Vote
think,
to approve the final completion.
all right, we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy,
Second?
second by Coach Cuellar, to approve the final completion of the digital scoreboard for Bobby Leckie Stadium. Any more discussion?
It worked great during the graduation, didn't it?
It did. There was no squiggly lines.
Yeah, it was very nice during the graduations for doing all the other sports and activities also.
Yes.
And
But
then,
it was great.
under when we had the special ed Olympics, a lot of the people
Yes.
from the other cities commented on, positive comments on everything that was occurred there at the stadium, especially the school.
Thank you, staff, for making that happen.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy, a second by Mr. Cuellar. All in favor of approval of the final completion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of change order number 3 to the contract for the construction of the new field house at Weslaco High School for additional work needed and corresponding additional days. Dr. Canales.
Trustees, you had asked us to get you information in advance. This is something that we received on Saturday. We did send an email earlier today to you. We apologize for that, but we sent out the information, and after talking to staff, felt it was important that we did bring this item to today, because we have some next steps that are involved. So, Mr. Riojas, are you going to
Yes.
walk us through it?
Yes, thank you. So I have Mr. Americo Garza, and I think Mr. Rowan with Gomez Architects is here. So we'll go over the first item. Power and
Coach,
water.
can you speak into the
I'm
mic,
sorry.
please?
Power and water for additional ice machine, electrical power and water are to be provided for additional ice machine requested by WISD. So the athletic facility, we have 2 ice machines. Normally, we carry a large ice machine for distribution device for all programs. And then we have a smaller ice machine with a chunklet ice for injuries. And so this one here, we have the ice machines already in stock, or they're already placed where they belong. So we just need to add water and power to that machine. So that would be an added scope for that item. Any questions on that item? Okay, item number 26, water pump and drain for ice machine. The drain in the ice room for the ice machine was not included in the construction drawings. The cost to add a drain is being covered by the architect's design team. So same concept. We had an ice room. We have an ice room identified in the buildings, but there was no drain added to that room. So staff and Gomez Architects are working on a pump. Basically, they're gonna suck up the water up above the ceiling and tap into it and drain out through another line. Any questions? Americo, you want to add anything?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On that pump, and just a real quick, simple, will it have a safety mechanism to where if the pump fails, it'll shut the power off to the ice maker so it won't continue running, and possibly over a holiday flood or cause some damage? And I think we can use something like what they use on the ACs, on the AC pans, that'll, if it's, and I don't know if it's possible.
I'll look into it, I have no idea. I understand the question, I do not have an answer.
We'll look into it and give
Look
you an
into it.
update. Yes, sir.
So we
Good
can get
question.
the update if we have it.
Yeah.
Next item is item 27R2, additional railing. The City of Weslaco inspector cited a code required edge protection for the ramp landing sidewalks on the north entrance to the building. The edge protection must be a minimum of 4 inches. So that's being done, however, for aesthetic purposes, we're asking the continuation of the railing in place as recommended so that it all looks uniform on the north side of the building.
How did the company not pick up the code? Doesn't it have to get approved prior to plans being approved?
The code requirement for a guardrail, okay, I didn't know if this works, anyway, is for changes in elevation above 30 inches. We do not have a change in elevation on the east side of more than 30 inches, so we had continued the ramp up and had the guardrail stepping out into the property, or onto the pavement. So to the east, we have landscape area and then the curb, so one wasn't required. When the fire marshal came in, he said, no, there's also this term at the end of the fire code that says it's up to his discretion. So his discretion was, he wanted the railing. Even though the building code itself says, no, it's not required, the fire code is left up to the fire marshal, and the fire marshal said he wants it. So that's why we had to add it.
Can he pay for it?
We can ask.
All right.
It's up to him.
Yep.
At his discretion.
Wow. Thank you.
And I'll let Mr. Americo cover the final two.
So we have the next one, which is the logos, and that would be the panther head above the canopy at the main entrance and the W over to the right-hand side. So originally, those signs were specified as being just regular aluminum signs, non-lit. They were not illuminated. And so there is a credit for that because a change came in to have them lit. Now, the power was specified, so then the change had to be made to the letters, to the logos to be lit. And so that's where that credit comes in, for those aluminum logos that were originally specified. And so the next item is the actual cost of the lit logos, or illuminated logos, which is, again, the panther head and the W that are there right now.
All right. What do you want to do, gentlemen?
Pretty clean, pretty clear.
All right.
Are y'all okay with everything?
Yes, sir. Everything looks very
The
nice.
architect, of course. I'll make a motion.
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
We had indicated that it was a change order to address the additional item that needed to be done and pay it from the allowances and additional days. We are not requesting additional days for the project, for this one, because we already have substantial completion, so we're only addressing the cost of the items, not an increase of days.
Correct.
And even after we were to approve these change orders, we would still have over 84,000 left over in the contingency allowance, is
Yes,
that
sir.
right? Okay. I don't know, did you make a motion, Mr. Lopez?
Mr. Lopez did.
Okay, I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Lopez, a second by Mr. Kennedy to approve change order number 3 to the contract for the construction of the new field house at Weslaco High School. Any more discussion?
Yes, after you made the motion, you said that we're only talking the dollars, you're not talking about the days?
Yes, sir, no additional days after all. Because we
So it's
already
only
have
the first
substantial
part.
completion. So there's no contract date to extend.
So essentially, the days that are shown on there is just for recording purposes, that they're not gonna take 6 months to finish the work.
Okay.
Right.
Time limit.
So, Mr. Lopez, to add also, it's very important, we've got to have the ice machines functional. We've got summer recreation programs, so we have strength and conditioning going on. We have one ice machine that's functional, but it's not enough, so it's very important for us to have those ice machines functional. So I know we're staying on Mr. Owen here to get it done.
Oscar, do we have any backups for ice, in case we have
Yes, sir.
something break down?
Yes, sir, staff is doing a really good job, Coach. We're using the one ice machine that we do have that's functional, and we're also using the ice in the cafeteria.
With the heat the way it's been, I foresee that kind of stuff, and
Right.
keeping our athletes and anybody that's out there, band, students practicing, we need to have something ready for them.
Yes, sir.
In case these things break down.
And I will say, sir, in some cases, we have bought some ice because we run out. It has been getting hotter, but we're making sure the kids are taken care of. Yes, sir.
Overall, in the summary, this project was in budget? Is that correct? Good.
And if you take away the fire marshal's,
We would have been,
it's really $5,000.
all right, so we have a motion by Mr. Lopez, a second by Mr. Kennedy to approve the change order number 3 for the construction of the new field house. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Item H, discussion and possible action for the board to approve a credit card program for the district travel. Dr. Canales?
We've been working on this for quite some time, Board of Trustees, and it's an effort to improve the student employee and board travel expense process. Our business office staff started implementing a district travel card system with Citibank. Citibank is a travel card and procurement, the P card, awarded vendor and current contract holder for the state of Texas. There is no cost to the district for this service. There are some things I do want to point out. We do have some safeguards in place about the card, but in addition to that, we have a user agreement form that we want employees to sign that includes a receipt that they've received the district credit card. They fully aware of the requirements and responsibilities for using the card, for travel expenditures, and that there's consequences for unauthorized use of the credit cards. And that it does include if it's misused to purchase items that should not be purchased, that will be reflected in their paychecks. And of course, in conversations with employees. But it's something new. You've asked us to look into it. We'd like to try it out. The business office has put some procedures in place. We'll be working with supervisors and with me on the implementation. We do have, if approved, we'll continue to test it for June through August 2019. Business office staff will provide training to schools and departments, to all of us, including, how to use a travel card. So we'll have a schedule of training. We already have one set for August the 9th, right, 2019. And we'll implement September 2nd, 2019.
We have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a second by Dr. Jaime. Any more discussion?
Will Citibank charge us interest on the purchases?
No, sir.
There's no interest
No,
whatsoever?
no cost to us at all.
One more question. I think on there it said that the credit card will be destroyed. Is it every time it's issued out?
There's a card that we can destroy. We're gonna be getting new cards
For like,
to issue to new
for every sponsor or
Yes,
program or
every
activity?
traveler, correct.
Okay.
For every trip? Every
For
trip?
separate trips, yes. That's the type of card that this one is. The card won't have a name.
Hotel room card.
It's just the Weslaco ISD card doesn't have a name of a traveler.
Correct.
So it's part of the safeguard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
Yep.
this is the first I actually, maybe I missed it. I hadn't heard of it. We've never had it. And I don't know. I just have a lot of questions, and I know that I'm looking at there's a information before me now, but I had not seen it. Who gets the points?
It's not Mr. Sanchez.
You don't have points. There's no points on this one.
Why not?
But if there were to be any, it would be the district.
But you know what?
And I will be in charge of that now.
A lot of times, like, hotels don't take checks anymore. A lot of times,
Some
you know,
hotels,
you
right,
have to use a
yeah.
credit
We
card.
run
So,
to
you know, I
that.
think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
As long as we're responsible and we have some responsibilities in check.
And we wanted to get them out faster.
What is
also.
the ultimate if somebody just says, you know what, I'm gonna use it and I really used it wrong. What is
But it has a limit. It's only the amount of the travel.
Right.
Will dock it from the paycheck, and it could have consequences,
From their
even being
supervisors.
fired. We
Which is a
discussed it
form we
with
want them
legal
to sign.
counsel
consequences up to?
after termination.
Okay.
Depends.
what I wanted
It's
to hear.
completely abused, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez, a second by Dr. Jaime.
I do have one final question.
Go ahead.
So Citibank, obviously, we're not going out to bid on or requesting proposals on this
On the
credit
card.
card company.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'm assuming it's because the state's already authorized its use for,
It is the state-approved vendor.
okay,
for
so
the
it's kind of like going to the buy board. We're
Yes,
just
sir.
looking at, okay, then I'm go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Dr. Jaime. All in favor, please say aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item I, discussion of possible action to approve the district superintendent goals. Dr. Canales?
Board of Trustees, we did meet, I'd like to thank Mrs. Janie Pena with the District Advisory Committee for feedback on the goals and also the little descriptors that are under the goals. We brought that feedback to our principals. Our principals did work in groups and come up with some recommended changes. One of the things that, in looking through the paper, they wanted actionable goals. By that I mean having a verb that we're gonna take care of it and do it. So you'll see the addition of verbs like provide, ensure, foster, implement, facilitate on each of the descriptors. The other major change is since professional development is constantly used in education, that it's professional development and that it's continuous support for all employees. The team really, really believes that we need to keep on growing, no matter what position we play in a school district, from superintendent to athletic director to principal to SEF. We're all growing, we're all learning together, we're one team, and we continuously support the growth of all employees. So those are the major changes. We still have for Goal 1, student success with a literacy focus. The engaging learning environments, the parent, community, business, industry partnerships, a professional growth and leadership development and financial strength. This rendition of how we'll publicize the goals also has our mission and our vision, which we felt was important to include it, so it does have a different look. From these goals, we use them to develop actions for all kinds of teams, and you'll see that in the updates that we provide you with what's new and where we are on different actionable items throughout the school year. So just recommending that we keep them the same with the changes from the input of different stakeholders in our system, and that you approve them.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Jaime and a second by Mr. Kennedy to approve the superintendent's goals. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go into 8:05, it's closed meeting to discuss the following. A, personal matters, employment of personnel, resignations, deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee. A, evaluation of superintendent and consideration regarding superintendent contract. B, deliberation regarding acquisition of real property, Texas Government Code 551.072. Consultation with attorney regarding A, pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offer, a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the Weslaco ISD under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct, the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. And this will be item 1, insurance audit. And we'll go into executive session at 8:05. Oops, there goes. We're back from executive session. It is 9:25. Let the record reflect that Mr. Gonzalez left at 8:25. Possible action if necessary on items discussed in closed session. Item number 1, discussion and possible action on new employment.
Board of Trustees, I recommend that you approve the recommendations for contracts for certified professional personnel as discussed in closed session.
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Jaime and a second by Mr. Kennedy on possible action on new employment. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, discussion and possible actions or resignations.
Non-action.
Non-action. Item number 3, discussion and possible action on superintendent evaluation and possible action on contract. As we discussed in executive session, I think all we agreed that Dr. Canales is doing an outstanding job, but we want all 7 board members present when we do the evaluation. There's a lot of positive things happening in Weslaco ISD. Attributed to her and her, of course, her central office administrative team, and of course, all the district personnel in the district. So in the next either special board meeting in July or August, once we get all the scores, I think we'll have a better overall view of the whole picture, and I think that will benefit her final evaluation later on. Dr. Rivera?
I agree, everything you said. We'll get the team. We'll get the team, all 7, and then we'll look at, in August is when the rankings come out, and we expect an A in the school district and an A for all the other schools. High schools too.
Mr. Lopez?
I just want to say that I have to my left, the 2 best superintendents in all of Texas. And we're blessed. Weslaco is in a very good position to have both these people at the helm. Dr. Canales, ever since you came on, I mean, you've done a great job for us and for the students and for our staff and for everybody. And Dr. Rivera, you're there when we need you.
Thank you.
Always. And your advice and your words of wisdom, they carry a lot of weight with this board. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
And helping us out. And Dr. Canales, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Cuellar?
Lopez.
No, I feel the same way. I mean, I personally had a very good experience with Dr. Rivera, and he wasn't always going to tell you, good job. He expected the very best from you. But I was a better person because of it. And I've always appreciated that, and he was more than a mentor to me, and that's just a personal thing there. But along with that, Dr. Canales has made me feel very welcome to this position that I now have, and the direction that we're going in is very positive, and I get a lot of energy from that. So I'm very appreciative of having had Dr. Rivera there with me, and now working with Dr. Canales, and then also working with this board. It's a great experience.
Dr. Jaime?
Well, pretty much along the same lines, Dr. Canales, I feel like you've done a great job, and the district is moving in the right direction. And I thank you for leading our district, and looking forward to all the good things to come in the future there.
Mr. Kennedy?
Well, I want to talk to the citizens out there wondering what goes into the superintendent's evaluation and what we're considering. And Dr. Canales has been here since 2016, and since then, we've seen our facilities expand. We're getting a new band hall. We're getting a new field house for Weslaco High School. A lot of the roofing projects have been completed. We've entered into agreements with the city of Weslaco to repair our street services. Our scores are getting better. I think morale is up, and I think you've done that, and you've also managed to corral a very good team here at central office, which I think is key to any success. So these are the things that the board is looking at when we're evaluating her job performance, and I just want to give you some insight into what we're thinking. And so, good job so far.
So very good points from everybody. And I think, diligently we'll do a better job in August when we have all our scores and all our information. But everything you've done, from our distinctions to our scores to working with central office, like Mr. Kennedy said, and I think Dr. Rivera mentioned that you have to have a strong team in order to be successful. Correct, Dr. Rivera?
Yes.
And so I think we're headed in that direction. So again, kudos to you. Outstanding job. And we'll do a better rating of you when we do later in July or August. Okay?
Now,
Yes,
this
you may say
is
something.
we've already initiated the process, and now we're going to continue with the final
Correct.
evaluation come that time.
Good point. Good
Yes.
point, Coach Cuellar.
And just for me, thank you to all of you and to the great team we have in Weslaco ISD. Your leadership, your vision, Board of Trustees sets a tone for the great work for our teams to soar, no matter what positions we play in our district. And it's all about children and the future. And nowadays, we're looking at the future into the next century. And that's something that I know that our principals, our central office staff, our bus drivers, our cafeterias worker, I and you hold dearly too. We're preparing the future, so I thank you for your leadership, your wisdom, and for letting our teams develop plans that benefit students, and not just 1 year, it's almost 3 years now. So kudos to you for your leadership and for your insights and for the commitment that you give. And it's all about team. I'm a firm believer in team, and two heads are better than one, people coming together and coming up with a win-win for all students. So thank you so much to every single one of you.
All right. Thank you. Item 4, discussion possible action acquisition of real property.
You can authorize the administration to proceed as directed
That's
in the closed session.
I move to authorize the administration to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Dr. Jaime to proceed as discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on insurance audit matter.
Discussed in closed session.
Yeah, the board hired John Millen of Millen and Millen to perform the insurance audit. At this time, it's his recommendation that lawsuit be filed against the party that was disclosed in the executive session. So if the board is so inclined, Mr. Millen's recommendation is to authorize him to file suit.
I move to authorize Mr. Millen to file suit on behalf of the Weslaco Independent School District against the party we discussed in closed session.
Second the motion?
We have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Dr. Rivera to follow as what was discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Adjournment.
So move.
Right, it is
Faltó Henry.
9:30.